Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on MegaPixx Media. Joining me today is Michael Holden, VP of Policy and Chief Economist with the Business Council of Alberta. Thanks for joining us today, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's take a look at some of the labor force survey numbers that were released today by Statistics Canada. We're going to delve into the Calgary, Alberta, and Canadian situation. Let's start with Canada. Numbers show that in March, 303,100 jobs were added. That is a year-over-year hike of 700,500 jobs. And the unemployment rate in Canada dropped to 7.5% from 8.2% the previous month. Tell me, Michael, what's happening overall in the Canadian labor picture? What those numbers tell you?
Well, we're seeing the Canadian economy slowly continue on its road to recovery, and so these were a very strong set of jobs numbers for March, and so that's it's an unambiguous positive, and I think that it shows that once we get through this next this third wave that most provinces are experiencing right now, and sort of the race between vaccinations and this wave itself, that we're going to be in a position to end 2021 on a much stronger note than it began.
Okay, and let's look at Alberta. 37,100 jobs created in March. Year over year, employment is up by 71,600. And the unemployment rate dropped to 9.1% from 9.9%. Again, your take on what's happening in the province?
Yeah, this was a very strong set of jobs numbers for Alberta for March. I mean, the jobs gains that you talked about were pretty much across the board in all industries across the province. We saw, with the exception of some flatness in the hardest hit industries still in, accommodation, food services, some other personal services, and some like business administration services. Those are the only areas that did not see fairly significant job growth. And so it was a widespread set of gains. I think that it's optimistic in the sense that it was stronger than we expected. I think where the negative part comes in, of course, is that these are March numbers, and effective today, we're into the next round of the third round of closures, and so that's going to dampen the outlook for April. But I think we're ending in a pretty strong note, and the province is up to 98.5% of its pre-COVID employment, which has caught it back up to the national average, which is also a positive sign.
Okay. Finally, Calgary. We'll take a look at the Calgary region, the Calgary Census Metropolitan Area. This is interesting. 900 jobs. Employment was down by 900 jobs month over month. But year over year, we're still up 7,900. Unemployment rate at 10.0%, down slightly from 10.6% in February. So maybe can you explain, Michael, why Calgary region sees a job loss, whereas in Alberta we see the gains?
Yeah, it is a little bit unusual, and I took a look at those jobs numbers this morning, and a lot of the employment increase was concentrated in the Edmonton area this time around for March, and it was weak in Calgary. At least a portion of that is construction activity was down significantly in the city compared to last year, but also interestingly, a lot of I've said before that accommodation, food services, and those kinds of public-facing industries were flat. They were up fairly significantly in Edmonton, but down in Calgary. And so this is something we're going to be watching out for, because we're not sure. I mean, 1 month is always, take a note of caution with just 1 month worth of data, especially when you're drilling down to a small subset of the province. But it is part of a recurring trend where we're seeing a much stronger recovery in other parts of Alberta than we are in the Calgary area.
Okay, super. One of the things that I noticed just before hopping onto this call with you, Michael, one of your colleagues at the council had tweeted out something about an area of concern being the long-term unemployed in the province. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that's about?
Yeah, so my colleague Alicia tweeted those things out this morning, and so this is something we noticed a couple of months ago to start. And what this is there are various measures of unemployment, And there's the classic one that you think of, but you can break it down into how long you've been unemployed. And so the numbers for how many Albertans have been unemployed for 1 year or more are the highest in the country. And so this is, this is a throwback to about the same time last year when we saw the oil price crash and the Alberta economy was already in a relatively weak position compared to other provinces. And so this is something that absolutely concerns us. Is we're going to be doing a fair bit of work at the Business Council in the coming months on this whole issue, because it's going to be a combination of a huge number of things. It's declining or flat investment in the energy sector up until hopefully recently, transition into a low carbon economy, digitization, and automation of jobs. There are a whole range of factors that are making it more challenging for some Albertans to enter or re-enter the labor force. And so this is a concern. And as I said, it's significantly higher in Alberta than it is any place else in the country. And that's something that we need to address, because the longer that people are out of the workforce, the harder it is for them to get back into it.
And I imagine Calgary's is probably worse than the rest of the province, right? Simply because of the reliance on the corporate downtown oil patch jobs. What's the future hold? Do you see for the rest of the year, specifically for the Calgary labor market?
Well, one of the interesting things related to that, we recently released a survey that we do every quarter. It's called our Business Expectation Survey, where we survey our membership, which is all of the large businesses in Alberta, and ask them what their outlook and expectations are for the coming months and how they've performed recently. And so we saw in that, and that survey was out in the field at the end of March, a pretty significant turnaround in terms of the level of optimism that businesses have. And so we saw that a lot of them signaled that their advanced bookings, their sort of like forward-looking sales indicators, sales inquiries, new orders, that kind of stuff, those were all up sharply. Also, more businesses than average. More businesses were expecting to add new people than were expecting to lay them off by a considerable margin, and the investment intentions were up significantly. So, as I said before, we're in the middle of this third wave of COVID cases, and there's a race between infections and vaccinations at the moment. But I think that what this signals is that, beyond that sort of what we hope is a temporary blip, we're going to see the Alberta economy roaring out of the gates, and Calgary will be a part of that as much as the rest of the province.
Okay, super. Well, thanks again, Michael, for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, that was Michael Holden, Vice President of Policy and Chief Economist for the Business Council of Alberta. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on MegaPixx Media. Thanks for joining us today.